Today's episode is about the silent killer of relationships. The battle between who you are and who you think you need to be. Most relationships don't end because of cheating or lying or lack of love. They end because at some point you stop being yourself. Not in the obvious way. Not in the I faked my entire personality way. It's more subtle than that. It's the moment you start choosing peace over honesty. The moment you start tiptoeing around what you really want because you're afraid of being too much or not enough. It's the slow erosion of authenticity in exchange for survival. The moment you start editing yourself, it happens so quickly. You don't even notice it at first. The first time you say, it's fine, and it isn't. The first time you silence an opinion because it's easier to let them believe you agree. The first time you make yourself smaller to fit into the space that they have made for you. And every time you do this, every time you clip away a piece of yourself for peace, you're not keeping the peace. You're burying a war. The real reason you're exhausted in your relationship. We talk about relationships are hard work like it's universal law. And yeah, healthy relationships require effort. But here's the question people seldom ask. What is the work exactly? Because there's a difference in putting in work and performing a full-time role you never auditioned for. If you feel your relationship is draining you, ask yourself this. Are you exhausted because love is hard? Or are you exhausted because you're working overtime trying to be someone you're not? When your relationship becomes a job, we don't realize how often we turn love into a job description. We unconsciously mold ourselves into the fun one, the fixer, the unproblematic partner, the one who never asks too many questions. And once you accept the role, it's damn near impossible to quit. Because the moment you stop performing, the moment you start showing up as your actual self, there's a fear that maybe they won't love you the same way. Maybe the love they gave you was never meant for you, just a version of you that made them feel comfortable. How do you know if you're losing yourself? So, how do you know? How do you know if you're losing yourself in your relationship? Here's a test. Imagine the person you love wakes up tomorrow and decides they're done. No argument, no explanation, no fight. They just leave. And suddenly you're alone. Who are you without them? If you can't answer that, you're not in a relationship. You're in an identity crisis. The scarier question. Most people in this position spend their energy trying to keep the relationship, trying to convince someone to stay. Because that's the real fear, isn't it? Not just being alone, being stuck inside a life that doesn't even feel like your own. The way back to yourself. If you're hearing this and realizing, damn, I don't even know who I am outside of this relationship, don't panic. That just means you've woken up. And waking up is the first step to getting your power back. The way back to yourself starts with one thing. Stop performing. Stop saying yes when you mean no. Stop swallowing your feelings to keep the peace. Stop playing a character you wouldn't even want to be friends with. If someone only loves you when you shrink, is that really love or convenience? At the end of the day, the biggest relationship killer isn't cheating or lying or falling out of love. It's slowly becoming a version of yourself you don't even recognize. So here's your choice. You can keep the peace on the outside, or you can finally start fighting for yourself. If this hit home, don't just sit with it. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the real you is worth fighting for. If this episode made you rethink everything, wait till next week when we break down why your type may actually be your trauma in disguise. See you then.